In the midst of the darkness, God has sent us His light. There's no need to be anxious.
Welcome, everybody, to the Trust in the Lord Hour. I am your host, James David, trusting in the Lord Manning. How's everybody doing on this rainy Thursday morning in the Big Apple as a result of Hurricane Zeta? The effects of Hurricane Zeta going on down in the Gulf Coast through Louisiana and even up towards Georgia, and the rain is being felt as far as New York. How's everything down in South Carolina, Sister Angela Kane, since you're always giving us the weather report from down in the Palmetto State? And we got an extraordinary broadcast for you today, as we always do. We're continuing perhaps one of the lengthiest subject matters that we've done in the Trust in the Lord in some time. And the Trust in the Lord segment itself is a 14-year journey. But we're continuing the Alpha and Omega series, and we're at the segment number 23. And the subject matter here is the breath of death is what we're going to be covering today in the Alpha and Omega series. And remember that Jesus said in Revelation chapter 22, verse 13, that I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end, indicating in the most emphatic way that he is the beginning. That is, and I think for God to say that, even God had to scratch his head, because the beginning, then what was before the beginning is the question that I would be asking. But Jesus said he is the beginning. Jesus is saying, I just didn't come into effect on Christmas Day in Bethlehem. He said, no, I was in the beginning. I'm the one that said, let there be light. And then he says, I'm also the Omega, the end of all things. And by that, of course, we know that the Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 starts out at in the beginning. So we're not talking about the beginning of God. We're not talking about the beginning of the, if you will, what's the word I'm looking for? We're not talking about the beginning of the essence of God. That's not when we write in Genesis chapter 1. In the beginning, we are talking about the beginning of creation. And when God speaks in Alpha, Omega terms, the Greek term Omega, the end, he's not talking about the end of existence. He's talking about the end of the creation process, where we move very powerfully into a second of a movement of eternity, which is another subject matter I pray to be able to teach a little bit later on, because effectively what we're doing is now, if you look in John's Gospel, chapter 1, it says, in the beginning was God, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the Word became God, and became among. But it says also in Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. So now what God is saying in this process, Mr. Engineer, and this will suffice, you don't have to do a thing on this, one way if you like. What God is saying is that when he says in the beginning, meaning the Alpha, that in the beginning, he's not talking about the beginning of God. He's not, and I guess that's the best way to say it. He's not talking about, Moses is not right at the beginning of God. He's talking about the beginning of creation, which is an afterthought of God. And when he says in Revelation chapter 22, again in the Omega tongue, the Greek tongue, he says, I'm the Alpha and Omega, meaning the end. He's not talking about the end of God or the end of the God age, but he's talking about a transition where humanity and creation itself will be transitioned into a new experience. The bridge between the Alpha, which is the ending of creation, where all things will be destroyed and they'll be ushered in a new presence. It's called the 1,000-year reign of peace, and after that, there'll be a new heaven and a new earth, and will be a new form of existence. It may not necessarily be called creation, but something altogether different. So when we say the beginning, when God says, when Jesus says he's the beginning and the end, he's not saying he's the end of God. He's not saying he's the beginning of himself. He always was and is and will be. You got it? So, but now we're talking about the breath of death. Now, on this past the Open Rewards prayer meeting that we held, we explored by way of gathering people's imagination regarding the coronavirus in light of the fact that we're in the tribulation. Now, one of the things about the tribulation that we have to come to terms with is that, and we can glean this from the days of Noah and the flood, is that most people will not understand that they're in the midst of a movement of God. And that is why prophets are never popular. Prophets speak to the actuality, the instant movement of God, while, and either in a prophetic sense or in a contemporary sense. And in most of those metrics, the average human mind does not comprehend that we're in the midst of a movement of God, or that there's a prophetic movement of God to come to place. That's where prophets are seldom appreciated, because people, most human, and it is a failure of humanistic, the human experience to always understand things in the now, and not so much in the present, or the present or the future is extremely difficult to read or know. But people very seldom understand themselves when they're in the midst of a movement. For instance, when the children of Israel were out in the wilderness and God was giving them manna from heaven, water from a rock, giving them a cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night to light the camp, they didn't realize they were in the midst of a mighty move of God. When they walked across the Red Sea on dry ground and kicked up dust in the middle of a seabed, they didn't realize they were in the midst of a move of God. With hindsight now, most people would say, my goodness, had I been there, I would have been marveling at each day being so unique. Having said that, we are going to, and the scriptures are now telling us, the reason why this Alpha and Omega teaching is so important is that it is teaching us that we're moving into a different segment. Now here, we're in the coronavirus, and most people don't realize that this is an effect of the tribulation. That's what it is. It's an effect of the tribulation, and God has put death in the air. God has put death in every breath. God has put death in the breath. There's a breath of death. God said, the Bible says in Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, and God blew into Adam's nostrils the breath of life. Well, if you breathe the coronavirus, you can get sick. Not everybody that gets sick dies. There are other things that are going on in concurrence with the whole idea of the tribulation. But the idea of it is, and everybody understands, that you can breathe and die. And so then the other item that we explored on with the Open Rewards prayer meeting was this, and that is that there's not one planet on planet Earth, one person rather, pardon me, on planet Earth that has not heard about the coronavirus. There's not one person on planet Earth that hears and has the capacity to understand, let's say, a 2 or 3 year old child. You can tell them about coronavirus and why they need to wear a mask, and they'll understand it. They have been informed. It is perhaps the most pronounced disease. It is the most pronounced event on planet Earth right now, and it is spoken in every language, no matter whether you're speaking English, German, or Mandarin, or Spanish. Every language has, and every person with that tongue has advised or been advised of coronavirus. There's nobody on planet Earth right this moment. Of the 7 billion plus people on planet Earth, there's nobody on planet Earth that has not heard about coronavirus. And I'm calling it the breath of death. And it is as ubiquitous as breathing itself, because that's how you don't die from a bullet wound in coronavirus. You don't die from some disease terminally affecting your body. You die from breathing. So this is a monster this coronavirus. And the prognosticators are indicating that here in America, we can experience, while we're up to 28,000 people that have died thus far over the past 7 months, that another 200,000 people could die during the winter months, during the Christmas season. What a lot of prognosticators are prognosticating is that this is going to be one of the saddest, darkest, mournful Christmases ever. It is not going to be marked by the celebration of the birth of the Lord Jesus Christ, but it's going to be marked by the setting in of coronavirus and people dying at 2 and 3 and 4,000 people dying per day during the latter part of December, the early part of January, all the way down into February. This coronavirus is a monster unless measures are taken somehow or another to quiet it, to stilt it, to quash it, to quell it from being as monstrous as it can possibly be. But this Christmas season could be, and I can tell you this, if there is a whole lot of getting together on Thanksgiving, and a whole lot of people in the football stands watching the football games on Thanksgiving, we could see 3 to 4 to 5 to 6,000 people dying per day. You calculate that over a monthly term, you can see 150,000 people die in 1 month unless something is drastically done. And a lot of that depends on how the elections are going to turn out on the 3rd of November, just a few days from now, as who will be in charge. We know no matter what who wins, that Tribulation Trump will still have the hands on the levers of the power of government, and ain't no telling what he going to be doing. Because he certainly hadn't done anything to stop, but has done, if you will, mega events to enhance the breadth of death. So, having said all of that, I want to ask you a question. I've been asking people to pray. Nobody, absolutely no, even some of my best people haven't come back and told me that they prayed. And my question is this, is that, so if you if you look around the ministry scene, the Christianity, the televangelist, or maybe a local pastor or something of that nature, you'll notice that the only person it appears now on planet Earth that is preaching Matthew's Gospel chapter 16, which we're now in poetry saying it is the vaccine. Matthew's Gospel chapter 16, 28. It is the vaccine for COVID-19. The students at the Outlaw School System make note of that. That's poetry. That's a little poetry there, right? Let's try it one more time. Make sure we got it right. That Matthew 16:28 is the vaccine for COVID-19. Little poetry that you don't mind. Little poetry coming out from the good Dr. Manning this morning. You don't mind that, do you? Or this afternoon, whatever it is, whatever time. It could be midnight that you're listening or watching this. Yeah. So Matthew 16:28 is the vaccine for COVID-19. All them INEs, right? All right, there you got it. See, a little poetry. You don't always have to be so down in the mouth about Scripture. So, but nobody else is teaching this, right? All the other preachers are running around talking about your best day is coming tomorrow. What a lie that is. Joel Osteen, that's one of his lines. Your best day is coming tomorrow. What a lie that is. But at any rate, so when I asked the people to pray, and nobody's prayed, I wonder, I'm trying to figure out, and I was praying this morning in the prayer closet as to whether or not it is a fallacy of the tribulation itself that inhibits and prohibits people from responding to an actuality that could save their lives. For instance, if you have a person walking towards the north rim edge of the Grand Canyon, and there are no railings there, and the drop is at least a 3,500 feet drop straight down to the bottom of the canyon, the Snake River. And the person is walking, and you say to that person, "Hey, stop, you're going to go over the edge of the cliff. Stop." And better yet, he could be running. And though he hears your words, he doesn't stop. And ultimately reaches the edge of the cliff, and he still doesn't stop. His next stop is 3,500 feet down, and his whole body become a bowl of jelly as he falls against the rocks near the border of the Snake River at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. So the question is this, is that why isn't, I'm asking people to pray. Well, just ask God a simple question. You know, that me, James David Manning, that I'm the one and perhaps the only one that's teaching Matthew 16:28, which says you shall not die, but you shall not taste of death, but that you should live. Why is it that I'm the only one preaching? And correspondingly, while the whole world is observing death by the breath, but nobody's saying, but Jesus said, and by the way, this is not James Manning's ideology or theology. Jesus said, I'm just quoting what Jesus said, that verily I say unto you, there be some standing here, even during the days of the coronavirus, which shall not taste of death. Why aren't other preachers preaching that? And so my question is this, is that, and you know, 'cause maybe y'all got your favorite people, maybe Joel Osteen's your favorite, or Franklin Graham's your favorite, or, you know, or your individual church, maybe you're Methodist, or maybe you're Presbyterian, or even Catholic, maybe some of y'all Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't know. And so you're just kind of into the religion. You're not into righteousness. You're into religion. That's your thing, religion. You know, your mama was a Jehovah's Witness and your daddy was too. So you're into the religion, not the righteousness. But it's pretty obvious that perhaps, and I want you to think about this for just a second. This is what I asked you to pray about and still haven't done it. I've asked you to pray, ask God, well, Lord, are you using James David Manning in the singular way? Of the 7 billion people on planet Earth, is he the only one with a word in his mouth with the Matthew 16:28 vaccine over COVID-19? Is he the only one of the 7 billion people on planet Earth that is now preaching the antibody of Matthew 16, verse 28 as the vaccine for COVID-19? Is he the only one? But at least in your understanding and in your presence and your reality of your instant moment as it is now, you don't know nobody but me that's preaching it. I know that. That much I know. So the question is that, and you know it too. So the question is, you should ask God, are you using James David Manning in a singular way above all persons on planet Earth at this time? Of the 7 billion people on planet Earth, are you using James David Manning? And let me also include the Atla vision and power and prophecy above all others on planet Earth. Is that the question that you should ask God? You say, well, I don't even think I'm going to ask God a question like that, because you figure you already know the answer. You may think the answer is no. I'm cool with that. No, I'm good with that. That's okay. It's all right. It's okay. But there might be some who might be a little curious and might not want to just trust their own rejection of me, which is what that would be. I reject you, Manning. I reject the whole idea. And by the way, if anyone thinks that I'm self-aggrandizing or self-promoting or somehow or another, I've lost some sense of humility and I've got something to prove, please forgive me. That's not my intent. I'm just talking a reality. Right now, you don't know of anybody else on planet Earth in the midst of the breath of death where all 7 billion people on planet Earth, no matter what their language, culture, or style, have heard about coronavirus. Everybody knows about it. Everybody knows about coronavirus, no matter where they live, in India, China, Africa, South America, Australia, well, not in Antarctica, but no matter where people live, they've heard about the coronavirus. They're just in here in America, where you are, or most of you anyway. But what they have not heard is Matthew 16:28 as the vaccine for COVID-19. That's what they're not, and preachers are not preaching it. Though there are preachers all over the planet, the same place I made mention of in terms of the languages and their continents and landmass. There are preachers there as well, but they are not preaching. So my question to you, you can say, well, man, get lost. But I don't have anything to prove. If you think that somehow or another that I'm trying to prove something or in any way promote myself, forgive me. I'm not guilty, but if forgiveness will do the trick for you, forgive me, because that's not my intent. Listen, I started preaching this 2 years before coronavirus. I started preaching this in August of 2018, before coronavirus. So and preaching the mission and of the elect, which is perhaps one of the greatest. I think that for you, I think that for you to believe that you're one of the elect, and I believe that you are, many of you, some of you may not be, is great. Listen, when Moses was down by the Red Sea and Pharaoh's army was pressing hard against him, and Pharaoh had got ticked off because Moses had, by proclamation of prophecy, called for the death of every firstborn son in all of Egypt. And all over Egypt that morning, firstborn sons, where they were married to women and had firstborn sons themselves, all died. There were 2 deaths in one house in many places in Egypt that morning. It was a horror after Moses gave that great prophecy about the death of the firstborn. Even Pharaoh's son died in the firstborn. Pharaoh got ticked off. Moses, a half-a-day journey towards the Red Sea, sent his army to get Moses. And the people of God Israel saw Pharaoh's army coming, and Moses lifted up his staff, and the Red Sea opened up. I believe that not only Moses had faith, but I believe the people had faith, and that caused that Red Sea to open up. Now, why is that important? It's important because for anybody to say, I'm going to go ahead and unite with Outlaw Ministries and the good Pastor Manning on being one of the elect, is like unto you being out there and the death is coming by way of the horses and chariot of Pharaoh, but you make a commitment to believe and the Red Sea opens up and you walk across the Red Sea on dry land to safety. I believe that the elect is saying or believing that you are one of the elect is a similar kind of an example. In fact, I know that it is. For everyone who's made, knowing that death is coming, no matter who you are, death is coming with horses and chariots and swords and spears waiting to take you down. But you make the commitment that I'm going with Outlaw. And as a result of that, the Red Sea opened up and the children of Israel were able to escape death. Now, that's an example I want to be able to put forward. So here, I've asked you to pray about this because some will say, Pastor Manning, I don't believe that God is using you, the only one that God is using right now. I don't believe that, but it's true. But you can say you don't believe it. But I think it's just a coincidence. I think it's just a coincidence. You happen to start preaching about it the other day, back in 2018, and now the coronavirus is here, the breath of death is here, and it's just so. But I don't think God knows anything about you or what you're doing. You can say that you're wrong, you're dead wrong. You say it though. You say a whole lot of things. You can say Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. But all the horses and men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together. You can say that too. You say a whole lot of things. Some of you, but if you said it's a coincidence, you're wrong. Mainly because God will not allow for such a coincidence. This is a serious time. 7 billion people on planet Earth, and all the babies, all the 3-year-olds, all the kindergarten people know about coronavirus. All grandpas and grandmas and great-grandmas and great-grandmas, they all know about coronavirus. They all know about it. But what they don't know is Matthew 16, and nobody's preaching it. Now, trust this, that I didn't make up Matthew 16 as some sort of as the vaccine for COVID-19. Jesus did. Jesus said there's some standing here that shall not taste of death. That's Jesus, so don't get all discombobulated and say that somehow or another I'm trying to put together some sort of newfangled doctrinal, religious, churchianity movement. That's not what Jesus said this. This is Jesus speaking. So we're in a period now, the breath of death, and are you going to pray? And it won't hurt you to pray. And you can open up your prayer by saying, listen, Jesus, I come to talk to you today. And I come to talk to you because that preacher, James David Manning, up there in Harlem, is up there talking about that Matthew 16:28 is the vaccine for COVID-19. And I just want to know what's true. You can sound like that. You can even tell Jesus, I don't believe him. But, you can say, but I'm a person of integrity. And I don't want to judge a book by its color, by its cover. I want to know from you, Jesus, is it true what Pastor Manning is saying? And you can take it and you get, just that's all you got to do. And then after that, get him to have yourself a cup of coffee and a donut. I don't know what you want to do. Maybe you want to have a tuna sandwich. I don't know after you pray. I don't know what you do after you pray. But I can tell you this, you ought to do it. Because if you do it and God says no, then you're good to go. You don't have to listen to me anymore. Just turn me off. But if God says yes, then you want to try to get up under this to escape death yourself. You want to try to, if God says yes, that means he's called you to escape the breath of death. And so you don't want to miss it just by being obstinate, stubborn, and downright flat-footedly ignorant. What's it going to cost you to pray? Ain't going to be no skin off your nose. And by the way, listen, if I thought God was going to say something like, know that James David Manning is not my servant. No, he is not the only one, in a mega way, that is, because there may be one or two others out there, but you don't know about them, that he's not the only one that's out there. No, it is not. If I thought God was going to tell you that, I wouldn't tell you to go pray. I do what Joel Osteen tell you. I say, tomorrow, even though the breath of death is everywhere, tomorrow going to be your best day. That's what Joel Osteen and Joyce Meyer tells you. I'll tell you what Franklin Graham tells you. Well, go to the Lord and tell him and confess I'm a sinner and I know I'm saved by your blood and on and on. No, you know how the Billy Graham evangelical movement is, right? You've heard that one before 1,000 times. I'm a sinner saved by grace. You know when people say that, they actually say, I want to keep on being a sinner. Thank God for grace. I don't plan to quit sinning, but thank God for grace. That's what all the Billy Graham followers believe. Thank God for grace. I will keep on sinning. A lot of Southern Baptists believe that same old lie as well. Just a slick talk that the devil put forward. All right, listen, I got to take a break right here. It's raining here in the Big Apple. Look at all that rain out there. It's washing out our vehicles. We'll praise the Lord for that. And I'm going to, after the break, I don't know if the engineer, Mr. Engineer, how you got it concocted, but can we bring up the after effects of Zeta and then move right into the balance? Because I want to bring you an update from what's happening with Hurricane Zeta. We got a lot of people that live in the Gulf Coast. People that live in Texas, on Corpus Christi, over in Brownsville. We got people in Lafayette. We got people in New Orleans, and got people on the Panhandle of Florida. And but that Hurricane Zeta roared through there last night, and I just want to let people know that we're following the news reports and that we are praying for you there on the Gulf Coast. And the rain, the effect of Zeta is being felt here in New York. That's why you see all that rain in New York here today. So we're going to, I don't know, do we have it, Mr. Engineer? Is it possible that we can do it? All right, if we have it, let's go ahead now and bring it up, and then we'll have some other things I want to say about our school. By the way, I want some of our young people. I don't know if all of our young people, I don't know, Elder LaFleur, if all our young people are watching the Trust in the Lord Hour, if they have seen the I Wonder video. And I don't know how many views it's gotten so far on Facebook. I'll have to check with Gabe on that. Maybe he can send me a note on the number of views it's got on YouTube. But Mr. Engineer, go ahead and put it. Hurricane Zeta.
To the northeast with winds of 60 miles per hour, moving at nearly 40 miles per hour, and is expected to pick up more speed, believe it or not. Winds have been the biggest culprit. There's a look at the projected path. Mid-Atlantic northeast, you can expect this storm knocking on your door by afternoon. Tropical storm warnings extend all the way into Virginia. Winds are big time with this system. We've had tropical storm force winds and even hurricane force wind gusts with this over the Carolinas. Highest wind gusts we're seeing right right now. Cashiers, North Carolina, 82 miles. So those winds now are pushing up to the northeast. This means power outages will continue to expand throughout the day, and even on the back edge of this storm, we're going to hang on to some gusty winds right through Friday. There's a look at the possibility for tornadoes today. It will be to the east of the center of the storm, and localized flooding still a possibility. That darker shade of green is where we could have 3 to 5 inches of rain.
Now that the coronavirus, a lot of people are afraid to send their children to schools, especially the public school system, and I tell you, I don't blame you. It is very risky in the public school system, and so a number of parents have taken to homeschooling. And if you're out of state or even out of the region of New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York or the northern part of New Jersey, and you want to homeschool your children, let us be an homeschool assistant. We have a bona fide jam up and jelly tight education system here at the Outlaw School System, from kindergarten all the way up through high school, and we do a great job. We produce lawyers, doctors, architects, artists. I mean, God has literally laughed on us as an education institution, and it's just given great blessings. Some of the best institutions in America, our students are accepted at. And we recently had one of our students graduate cum laude. That's the first. That is a first, and we need to make note of that. While we have students that have been accepted at Yale, at Juilliard, at New York University, and a number of other very prestigious schools, our first cum laude has happened in our institution, and that's a first that we need to make sure that the education system, the Outlaw School System acknowledges that. But what I want to say to you, if you're planning on homeschooling your children, register with our online homeschool assistance program. We have an online homeschool assistance program where you can register. You're living in Houston, you're homeschooling your children, but we can come alongside you every day, and we'll assign a special teacher to work with you and your children so that they will not be completely isolated. And you know that even though you're the parent, you're not fully qualified to teach them in every subject matter that they need to be taught in. It would be a wise thing for you to call our ministry at number 877-777-0734. Ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. And go ahead and let us work alongside of you, because you, I mean, as loving as you are as a parent, you just aren't qualified to do all that is necessary. We can be of great assistance to you on your schooling program for your children.
To college now, bro. Remember we was in middle school? Good morning, class. Good morning, Miss Garcia Phillip. So, today we're going to continue where we left off yesterday with the Italian Renaissance. Can anyone give me the names of any of the Italian Renaissance artists? Yes, Anna.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Good job, Leonardo da Vinci. What was he famous for painting?
The Mona Lisa.
Good job, Anna, but next time raise your hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Can anyone tell me any other artists? You know, Mr. Lewis? Mr. Lewis? Mr. Lewis? Mr. Lewis.
The first time that I saw you was in 7th grade. The magic of your eyes drove me insane. I wanted to come up just and say hello, but then I had the nerve, so I stay on the low. The brightness of your skin leaves me hypnotized. I wish that you could see your beauty through my eyes. I'm waiting for the moment when I get the chance to turn this little crush into a true romance. I talk across the room, that's crazy. All I wanna do is call you my baby. TLC, tender love and care. You and me together, that's a perfect pair. We gon' be together forever. We gon' make some memories, it's now or never, never. We gon' be together forever. We gon' make some memories. is now or never, never. Sometimes I wonder if you really know how much I really love you so. Sometimes I wonder if you notice me. My heart is open for you to see. Sometimes I wonder if we'll be together for eternity. Sometimes I wonder how my heart can stand. You in my life is the perfect plan. Yeah, you in my life is the perfect plan. Yeah.
At times I see you playing, laughing with your friends. So how I wish your smile would never end. I dream about us walking hand in hand, me as your girl and you as my man. I wanna know the hold of your loving arms and serenading me with your sweetest charms. I think about how our life could be, 'cause both of us together we could be happy.
Sometimes I wonder if you really know how much I really love you so. Sometimes I wonder if you notice me. My heart is open for you to see. Sometimes I wonder if we'll be together for eternity. Sometimes I wonder how my heart can stand. You in my life is the perfect plan. Yeah, you in my life is the perfect plan. Yeah.
All right, so the question remains in this Breath of Death teaching under the title of the Alpha Omega series, that and we're at part 23 thanks to Minister Marsha Carpenter Hodges that is doing a transcription of every word we speak these days, and we're just indebted to her for such a tremendous job. But the question remains as to whether or not we're in that we have been blinded to the fact that this breath of death, though we are admitting that everybody on planet Earth has heard about coronavirus, even children know about coronavirus. There's nobody that's ignorant of it on nobody in every language, in every space on planet Earth. But the message of Matthew 16:28 as the vaccine for COVID-19 is a message heard singularly out of Harlem, New York, and the Ottawa people, and James David Manning being the Lord's servant. That, well, is it potentially true that God is using James David Manning and the Ottawa people in the most supreme way on planet Earth in this moment of the tribulation? Now, that's a lot to conceive. I can tell you this, if you have doubts, you could find yourself in good company. However, it's the company of death. Because even during the days when Moses was leading the children of Israel in the wilderness after the successful escape from Egypt, there was a couple of men and a large group of people in the wilderness. One was named Dathan and the other man was named Korah. They were elders and had been pretty much religious leaders in Egypt before Moses called for the great liberation. And they told Moses to his face, "You're not the only one God's using, and God's using us too." And so God talked to Moses about it. God told Moses, "Tell the Dathan and Korah to stand on one side of the camp and to block all of his people and sheep and goats and pots and pans, families, babies and children, women and wives, all gather on one side that are following Dathan and Korah and light their censers." And the Bible says later on that God caused a hole to open up in the desert and swallowed, I don't know, could have been 200,000-300,000 people in one fell swoop, that said that Moses was not the only one that God was using. God killed the ones that doubted. Now, I'm not saying God's going to kill you. That's not what I'm saying. God forbid. I'm not saying that at all. But what I am trying to say, during the days of Noah, when Noah preached righteousness for 120 years, righteousness he preached, Righteousness, he preached. Righteousness. And people would not come and say, Noah, we believe you. Noah kept telling people that God's getting ready to kill all of y'all, and they wouldn't believe him. And in fact, nobody came. So and finally the rains came and killed them all, including the little babies and the old women. So, I mean, if you look and you say, well, James David Manning is not the only one that God's using, and I don't know, God is using James David Manning in this so-called Matthew 16:28 as vaccine for COVID-19. I don't know that God's using it. I think it's just a coincidence. And the heck with James David Manning. I'm going back to my Southern Baptist church just as sure as Sunday comes, and I'm going to sit on the front row. Well, I mean, you can say that, and you would be in a popular group. I wouldn't say it's a group that is going to be blessed. You would be in a popular group, not necessarily a blessed group, but a popular group. And it's one of the fallacies, I suppose, of the human experience. As we opened up a half an hour ago, that is very difficult when you're in the midst of a move of God to see the movement and to see the moving issues. It's only with hindsight that people see what a great opportunity this was for people to have participated. Well, people could have been saved. There was room on that boat that Noah built for other people, but they wouldn't get on it because they just didn't believe Noah. So with hindsight, people say, well, if I'd been there, I would have gotten on. No, you wouldn't, because you won't even to pray as I've asked you to pray. The whole process. So having said that, now I want to just for the moment, I don't want to leave that because we're going to stay with that for a while. Again, at the Open Rewards prayer meeting, and I had been announcing over the past week that I was going to be helping people to deal with worry. People don't even realize how much they're worrying now. The worry factor in the average human being now, because of the breath of death, has probably gone up by as much as 70%. Let's say you spend at least, 12 to 35% of your time worrying about issues, whether worrying about your health or worrying about, paying bills or worrying about your family or worrying about issues, right? 35% of your time is actually spent contemplating worrying, right? And let's say that was before the breath of death, coronavirus. But now the coronavirus is here, and you can just breathe and die. That you're spending as much as 70% of your time not where you're worrying about those things you always worried about, but you're now also worrying about coronavirus itself, and are you going to die? Some of you are essential workers, as the term goes, and you have to go out. Others of you go out as parents, and you have to come back home to your children and to the grandparents and everybody. That's a great concern, and it's just stressful. And you're worrying now more than you've ever worried before. And then we've got this joke of a presidential election coming up, which is causing more anxiety. So as much as 80 to 90% of your time is spent on worrying, and Almighty God has looked down from his throne in heaven and told me to instruct you to stop worrying. And I'm his messenger, and I'm going to tell you to stop it. But he didn't just tell me to tell you to stop it, because that's easier said than done. He told me to give you some advice on how to focus your mind on him. That way he'll keep your mind in perfect peace. Make note of this verse, Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3. He that keeps his mind focused on Almighty God, God will keep him in perfect peace and not worry. Isaiah 26, verse 3. So the Lord told me to go ahead now and employ a practice that we've been using now for some time. That is the writing of the scriptures. And I sent out this tweet this morning from last night's message. The tweet this morning was, don't worry, write the Holy Scriptures, the Open Rewards prayer meeting instructions. Let your mind be at perfect peace. Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3. Today's scripture writing and memorizing is 2 Kings chapter 1, verses 1 through 18. Now, what I instructed last night as given by Almighty God, his name is Jesus, is to tell you to write the entire book of 2 Kings one chapter at a time per day. And when you write the chapter, for instance, today, the 29th of October, and I'm dating this, depending, you may be listening to it 5 years from now, that you write 1 Kings chapter 1, verses 1 through 18. I think it's 18 verses in that chapter. Write it. And when you're writing it, you're going to have to keep focus on the scripture. And one of the reasons why God chose 2 Kings is because it's very intriguing. It is warlike. I mean, this is right up James David Manning alley. There's a whole lot of killing. There's a whole lot of warfare going on. There's a whole lot of king rulership. There's a whole lot of prophecy going on. This is a mamma jamma of a thriller, of an action movie. Well, it's not a movie, but an action chapter. 2 Kings. You're gonna love it if you love action. It's not a romantic chapter, I can tell you that. But it's going to keep your mind focused because you're watching the things that God's doing, and it seems so contrary to what people say about God because people have been lying on God and lying on his prophets too. But anyway, so you write the first 18 verses, going to keep your mind focused. And then after you write, you put your pen down, put your paper down, and then you reread verses 1 through 3 in 1 Kings chapter 1 and try to commit them to memory. Read them over and over again and try to commit them to memory. And once you got all 3 of them committed to memory, then your assignment for the day will be over. And it may take you half an hour to an hour to write, and then take you half an hour to another hour to try to memorize, 2 hours. I don't think I'll spend more than 2 hours if you can't remember, because you're going to have to do this with all 25 chapters. You're going to be called to remember the first 3 verses of all 25 chapters, and 24 days from now, you should have memorized 75 Bible verses. And you're going to be your mind is going to improve. You're going to improve your cognitive abilities. You're going to improve your thought and recall process. Your blood vessels in your brain are going to get invigorated. You're going to feel healthier. There's going to be a light shining in your face. Your skin is going to begin to glow. You're going to look good, which is almost impossible for some of y'all. Anyway, so write the scriptures. Write scriptures. And while you're writing the scriptures, you're spending 2-3 hours a day on the scriptures, if you have that much time. That'll be time that you will not be worrying. Praise the Lord. And then the aftermath of writing the scriptures, the aftermath is that you're going to feel refreshed. You're going to feel renewed. I'm going to tell you something. You read 2 Kings, you see the warfare, the blood running. Wait till you get to chapter 9 and see what happened to Jezebel. Oh, Lord. This book is interesting. I love it. One of my favorites. This is an action book like I've never seen before. You get my goodness, you ain't going to have time to worry about, bills and other kinds of things. And then the other thing is that, know that I'm praying for you. Right? Know that I am praying. So, well, Pastor Manning is praying for me. And let me ask you one other question. I promise not to afflict myself upon you beyond this. I'm a praying man. Now, you may not think so, but I do pray. But let me ask you something. I'm a warfaring man, too. You see, you check me out, right? I'm just who I am. That's just all there is to it. I'm a Lord's servant, first of all. But I'm just who I am, right? I'm a warfare, right? I don't try to be a nicey guy. Why would I ever want to be like that? For what reason? It doesn't glorify God. God's not nicey. Have you heard about the flood? No, God's not nice. So, but would you want, let's say if you got 2 preachers you want to pray for you, right? One preacher is really nice. He speaks very nice. He's very polite. He's always speaking in a voice that is so soothing. And he's always saying your best day is going to be tomorrow. Even when tomorrow comes, well, he tell you it's going to be the next tomorrow, and on and on and on and on. And he speaks so nice. And he never gets rambunctious, He's always very nice. And even though, he does, and so you got an issue. The devil's trying to foreclose your house. You want him to pray for you, or you want somebody like James David Manning, who is a go-getter, who is a warrior, who is a sword swinger, who's a sodomite slayer? Who do you want? Do you want a warrior praying for you, or do you want a nice guy? When you got a battle, when you're in battle and you're about to lose your life to cancer, who do you want praying for you? A warrior or a nice guy? Right? Got to be joking. You got to be joking. You tell me, So I'm a warrior, right? That's it. No, when you got to get a prayer through, when you cannot do it, no, you need a warrior. You need somebody who talks the talk. So, at any rate, writing the scripture. Now, I've asked you to pray. You're going to pray. You need to do that. And let me just, before I wrap up today, because I got to get out of here today, get ready for the next segment on the Manning Report. But I want to say this, is that this coming Sabbath at the Outlaw War Missionary Church, I'm going to be continuing, Lord willing, my call for, I'm going to be teaching the women of Samaria. I've done that, and the women of Jesus. I may be getting to the woman with the alabaster box this coming Sabbath, because I'm calling for women to come and help me. And I'm praying that women will get a righteous man and a righteous man's reward. God has promised even a sinner woman. God has promised even a prostitute who ain't even saved. God's calling for women who've lived all kind of lives, not even saved. Some of them may be saved, some in the church don't even know if they're saved or not. But God's calling for them to come and help me. God's calling for women of all ages, all races, all colors, all kindreds, and all tongues to come and help me. They don't have to be saved. They could be prostitutes, liars, thieves. They could be the worst of the worst. Some of them could be good. Some could be Christian, not necessarily say good church goers. Some could be fire baptized. Some could be almost angels. But it doesn't matter. God's calling for, come and help me. And he is saying, if you'll come and help me, that he will give you a reward, whether you're saved or not. This is an unconditional blessing. Not just to the saved, sanctified, full of the Holy Ghost, talking in tongues and walking on water. No, he's saying if you come and help me, he's got a reward for you, whether you're saved or not. He's not going to demand that you be saved, but he does demand that he hand you a reward. I'm going to ask the engineer to put up Matthew's Gospel chapter 10. Well, that's okay. We all know it. That's all right, Miss Engineer. That's okay. That where Jesus said, if you give verse 40, 41, you give a prophet, you receive a prophet in a prophet's name, he'll give you a reward. Receive a righteous man in a righteous man's name, you get a reward. I'm both a prophet and a righteous man. That means you can get two rewards for helping me. You get the prophet's reward for helping me, and you'll get the righteous man's reward. A new car, maybe, a new house. But that's not what I'm praying you get. I'm going to be praying that God will give those of you who need one a righteous man as a husband. That's what I'm praying for. That's exactly what I'm praying, that God give you a righteous man that can shower you with financial strength. That's right. And take care of your financial, emotional, spiritual, and your sexual needs. Good gracious of life. Woo! I said it. Yeah, that's what I said. I said it. I'm not the one that invented sex. God's the one that did that. I didn't do that. Yeah, I'm responsible. I ain't responsible for it. I ain't responsible for the fact that Adam knew his wife. Adam did that. Now, God did that. I didn't do that. So at any rate, this coming Sabbath at 10 a.m., everybody, Saturday at 10 a.m., I'm going to be online, and there'll be some people gathering. By the way, be very careful now. We're in the coronavirus series. Don't be going anywhere that you don't have to go. If it's not going to see about to the doctors for your medical attention, or going to get food because you know you have to have, or going to work at a job which you must do. Beyond that, ain't nothing that you ought to go. This Thanksgiving dinner, don't go. I'm telling you, don't be fooled. I'm telling you, don't go. People are dying all over everywhere. All right, Mr. Engineer, take me out of this segment, please, sir. Stay tuned, everybody, though, all right? Stay tuned.
The storm is blamed for at least 2 deaths so far. A New Orleans man was killed by a dangling power line, and 1 person died in Mississippi, according to officials. Zeta made landfall in Louisiana on Wednesday. It brought winds that downed trees all over New Orleans. City officials say there were 200 tree emergencies after Zeta blew through. And by this morning, more than 3/4 of the city was in the dark. Zeta's winds brought power outages that stretched across 5 states. As of this morning, there were nearly 2 million people without power. The storm stripped the roof of a nearly 100-year-old building in Mississippi, and flooding left parts of the main Gulf Coast road there underwater on Wednesday. The mayor of Waveland told local media outlets he expects to find extensive damage in his city when it's safe to survey. He thinks this may have been the worst storm the city has seen since Hurricane Katrina.
Yesterday, too many children like John didn't eat. Today, they'll go without food again. Weak little children going hungry every day. John's swollen, painful stomach is empty. He is only 2 years old. His tiny body is severely malnourished. All John wants is for the pain to stop, to feel food in his empty stomach. But there simply isn't any. Today, too many sick and hungry children will go without food. Tomorrow, too many will die from hunger. Save the Children knows what it takes to save their lives. It takes you, us, and just $10 a month. Please do something amazing and call the number on your screen right now, because there are 3 simple ways you can help stop the hunger and save children's lives. You can save lives immediately by giving sick, hungry children the nourishing emergency food their weak bodies are craving. You can help make sure health workers are on hand to give children regular medical checkups before they become sick. And you can help give communities the support they need to grow their own food, clean water, tools, and seeds. Please call the number now, because you won't just be saving lives today. You'll be changing lives tomorrow, and all for just 35 cents a day. Call now and you'll receive the Save the Children tote bag to say thank you and to remind you of the incredible difference you're making today, tomorrow, and long into the future. Don't put this off. Please call Save the Children on the number on your screen and give just $10 a month. Because too many children like John won't eat today. You can make sure they eat tomorrow.
70% of the Earth's population don't have access to desperately needed surgery. As a result, millions die each year. Mercy Ships provides free surgery, medical aid, and community building projects, thanks to a generous team of volunteers and donors. For as little as $25 per month, you too can help end suffering. Please give today. Go to mercyships.org.au or call 1-300-MERCY-SHIPS.
Now that the coronavirus, a lot of people are afraid to send their children to schools, especially the public school system, and I tell you, I don't blame you. It is very risky in the public school system, and so a number of parents have taken to homeschooling. And if you're out of state or even out of the region of New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York or the northern part of New Jersey, and you want to homeschool your children, let us be a homeschool assistant. We have a bona fide jam up and jelly tight education system here at the Outlaw School System, from kindergarten all the way up through high school, and we do a great job. We produce lawyers, doctors, architects, artists. I mean, God has literally laughed on us as an education institution, and it's just given great blessings. Some of the best institutions in America, our students are accepted at. And we recently had one of our students graduate cum laude. That's the first. That is a first, and we need to make note of that. While we have students that have been accepted at Yale, at Juilliard, at New York University, and a number of other very prestigious schools, our first cum laude has happened in our institution, and that's a first that we need to make sure that the education system, the Outlaw School System, acknowledges that. But what I want to say to you, if you're planning on homeschooling your children, register with our online homeschool assistance program. We have an online homeschool assistance program where you can register.
The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. I shall never beg bread, I shall never be defeated, for the Lord is my refuge and my strength. I shall never beg bread, I shall never be defeated, for the Lord is my shelter and my shield. For the Lord is my refuge and my strength.
Welcome, everybody, to the Manning Report. I am Manning, the quintessential American, broadcasting from our studio located in our church building. And our church building is located in a community formerly known as Harlem. But God Almighty has changed the name of this community to Ottawa. How's everybody doing today? We've got big rain here in the Big Apple today because of Hurricane Zeta having landed in the Gulf Coast, and 3 people are dead. And we certainly regret that, and our sympathy goes out to the people in the Gulf Coast. They've been hit for the 5th, 6th time this year of hurricanes, and Zeta at the end of the alphabet, so we pray there'll be no more. But that's what's causing the rain here in the Big Apple. It's coming down pretty profusely in the Big Apple today. A lot of things. We got 4 days and a wake up, and it is on. That's right. The big election day on November 3rd, everybody's looking to see who's going to be the next president, and a whole lot of prognosticators are looking at that entire process. We're going to try to look at that a little bit today and go over it as well. And the candidates, I think both Biden and Trump are in Florida today. Trump's headed back up to Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's in my neck of the woods where I was raised up. And the battle is on for the presidency and the number of votes. And so everybody's telling everybody else to vote. I think that if felons in Florida ought to be able to vote, I want to let it be known that James David Manning thinks that the 1 million ex-felons or convicts, what they want to call them, in Florida ought to be able to vote. Now, I've had my say. By the way, I'm not for either of these candidates. I hope you figure that out. You somehow not think I'm for either one of them. You got to be out your mind. But let's go ahead and get started today with something that happened over the past couple of weeks, where this alleged racist told this fellow who's a YouTuber who had moved out to Scottsdale, Arizona, just north of Phoenix, that this is a no N-word zone. This is a no. And so what I want you to do is this. I came into this event the back way. So we're going to let you listen to the YouTuber talk about how he forgives the guy for what he said and prays that he gets saved and starts talking in tongues or something like that. And like he's such a nice guy, you know. And then we're going to go to a segment where he actually provoked the guy who's alleged to be a racist. The YouTuber, who was a Hamite brother, provoked the man. I mean, it was using all kind of foul language. I mean, this guy, this YouTuber, this Hamite brother, young boy, was using language that even Richard Pryor would not use. Then he comes back later and says, I pray and I forgive him and all. That's a lie. Anyway, so I want you to watch. First, I'm going to show you the after effect, and then I'll show you actually what prompted the entire event. So, Mr. Engineer, roll clip number 4.
The fact that it was such a vulnerable situation that was now put in front of the world, like that was my face on that video. That was me, and that was a very vulnerable situation that I went through, and it turned out to be a blessing, but it is just replayed in my mind, and it's
this guy's acting like he's such a nice guy.
People are doing reactions, and I'm seeing it on the news, so it's constantly replaying, and I have to relive the situation frequently. I'm just learning how to breathe through it and calm down. I've been through stuff like this before, so I think my past has equipped me with like the knowledge on how to stay mentally strong through this process. If I do feel like things are getting too out of hand, I do have great friends around that have came and supported me a lot. Also with my mom, my dad, and my family. But if I need other support as well, I'm definitely open to seek those type of professional help. I forgive him about this situation.
You forgive him?
But
you really pay attention to that, everybody.
I moving forward, I just pray that he understands that.
You pray.
This isn't okay. This isn't okay. It's not right to do. I can't. He's been prosecuted. He lost his job, and he's getting penalties to the furthest extent. So, I feel like he's dealing with the things that he should, the penalties that comes with something of his actions. So I forgive him.
Forgive him again, second time.
Any grudges against any person here on earth. So my forgiveness is there, but it's just not okay. So I hope he understands that and understands moving forward that, hey, you gotta, if that is how you feel, just keep it in your heart. Or, if that is the lifestyle you choose, just keep it to yourself. You don't have to go on a public road and display that.
All right, you see this guy, right? He's talking like he's born of a virgin yesterday, right? This is the cleanest and nicest guy. I mean, I've not seen a Negro this nice in a long time. This is one of the nicest Negroes I've ever seen in my life. I'll forgive him. Oh, keep it in your heart. Oh, I understand. Oh, no, what a nice Negro. All right, so but here, what I want you to do is check out what he actually did to get the so-called racist to say to him what the racist said. Check this guy out. Before all this nice Negro thing. Watch this. Go ahead, Mr. Engineer.
What's the issue?
What's up?
Why are you coming over here?
I just want to see what you guys are taking pictures of.
Why is it your business?
See what I mean?
This is my home.
Why is it?
Okay, mine too. Why are you taking pictures of me?
Where do you live?
I live in Scottsdale. Why are you taking pictures of me?
Michigan plates?
Yeah. Why are you taking pictures of me?
Well, you know what? We've had problems here.
I don't care. You don't know me. Why are you taking pictures of me? And I don't know you. Do you know a lot of white men are doing racist things in this world, sir?
No.
You don't know that? You're not aware of that?
I'm a racist.
You are a racist.
I'm a racist.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. So
what's your point? Why are you here?
Because this is a no-nigger zone.
Not really.
Oh, is it?
Not really, sir.
Tell me.
There's no nigger zone. I'm here. And what I'm about to do, I do. I stay here. What I'm about to do, me and my friend, we about to record our videos.
Okay.
And you not gonna do a thing about it. Y'all hear me?
That's fine.
What do you want? Thing. I don't want to hear you say nothing.
Oh, I'll tell you what though.
You just not gonna do another thing. So
why?
As y'all see, can't keep the camera.
Doesn't stop me from doing things.
It doesn't mean. I'm about to record my video.
Okay.
And this you're not gonna do anything.
Okay.
And let you try to touch me. Let you try to touch him.
Well, I wouldn't touch you.
You already disrespected me. Can you step back a little bit? I feel like you harm me.
We are 6 feet.
Yeah, no. I need you to step back. So, don't listen to what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm gonna lay your down.
That's okay.
It's okay. I'm gonna lay you down.
You are?
Yeah. So, just stay where you at.
You ain't man enough.
It's okay. You don't gotta think I'm man enough, my baby. Yeah, just keep it walking. And it's gonna be like that today, y'all. I hope y'all seen all of that. I am a famous YouTuber. This is actually his establishment. So anybody, y'all all know I just moved to Arizona, and this is his friend as well. So anybody that come to this establishment, y'all know what it is.
All right, so okay, all right.
Is, and y'all know where he works.
So
and it's okay. Hey, we got money and we doing well. He mad, so we gonna handle it like that. You saw he walked away because I got something for him and this man.
Okay, that sound like the same guy. Come on, everybody, talk to me now. Right? This is and he put this up on YouTube, and it is going gazook viral, right? And this is the guy you just saw. Now, in the first segment we played was his afterthoughts. Well, I forgive him, and I understand. What the? Yeah, like he was just born of a virgin, right? But now, and we stuck out with some of the language, which really sometimes you just got to use that ugly language, but it was just a little bit coarse even for me. Richard Pryor wouldn't say the thing. This guy say the kind of things that this guy was saying. Mr. Whatever he got on his head, Mr. YouTuber. The language he was using, Richard Pryor wouldn't use. And now all of a sudden, he's Mr. Nice Guy. Oh, I forgive him, and I understand, and all and all. But he provoked him. He was up there shooting, and the guy came over to talk to him, and the guy said, this is a no, N-word zone. Okay, that could get your juices going. I understand that. But this guy trying to make himself out to be a... Can somebody help me figure this one out? First you got, it appears to me, the three things. One is that Mr. YouTuber is looking to provoke people so he can put up on YouTube racist videos that'll go viral, that'll make him popular, and a rapper will get him some money, right? That's number one. Number two is that obviously, since he's posted this video up, maybe some of the Proud Boys or the Boogaloo Boys or others have knocked on his door and told him, listen, your days are numbered. You don't get your act together. And so he's not trying to walk it back from what it initially was. But this guy looks like somebody who just goes out and hustles things, look for something to do so he can get famous on YouTube. This is not like a genuine event. And I think he's doing what, this is just a tactic at Al Sharpton. He ought to call this boy Al Sharpton Jr. In fact, that's what I'm going to call him in this video title. Al Sharpton Jr. tries to play being born of a virgin after provoking white people to respond to him. And he went looking for a fight. He's out there looking for something. Anyway, this kind of stuff you got to put up with is what's going on in America today. Anyway, for me, well, you got the right analysis of it. That's why you always listen to me.
So far, a New Orleans man was killed by a dangling power line.
All right.
And one person died in Mississippi, according to officials. Zeta made landfall in Louisiana on Wednesday. It brought winds that downed trees all over New Orleans. City officials say there were 200 tree emergencies after Zeta blew through. And by this morning, more than 3/4 of the city was in the dark. Zeta's winds brought power outages that stretched across 5 states. As of this morning, there were nearly 2 million people without power. The storm stripped the roof of a nearly 100-year-old building in Mississippi, and flooding left parts of the main Gulf Coast road there underwater on Wednesday. The mayor of Waveland told local media outlets he expects to find extensive damage in his city when it's safe to survey. He thinks this may have been the worst storm the city has seen since Hurricane Katrina.
Yesterday, too many children like John didn't eat. Today, they'll go without food again. Weak little children going hungry every day. John's swollen, painful stomach is empty. He is only 2 years old. His tiny body is severely malnourished. All John wants is for the pain to stop, to feel food in his empty stomach, but there simply isn't any. Today, too many sick and hungry children will go without food. Tomorrow, too many will die from hunger. Save the Children knows what it takes to save their lives. It takes you, us, and just $10 a month. Please do something amazing and call the number on your screen right now, because there are 3 simple ways you can help stop the hunger and save children's lives. You can save lives immediately by giving sick, hungry children the nourishing emergency food their weak bodies are craving. You can help make sure health workers are on hand to give children regular medical checkups before they become sick. And you can help give communities the support they need to grow their own food, clean water, tools, and seeds. Please call the number now, because you won't just be saving lives today, you'll be changing lives tomorrow, and all for just 35 cents a day. Call now and you'll receive the Save the Children tote bag to say thank you and to remind you of the incredible difference you're making today, tomorrow, and long into the future. Don't put this off. Please call Save the Children on the number on your screen and give just $10 a month. Because too many children like John won't eat today. You can make sure they eat tomorrow.
Now that the coronavirus, a lot of people are afraid to send their children to schools, especially the public school system, and I tell you, I don't blame you. It is very risky in the public school system, and so a number of parents have taken to homeschooling. And if you're out of state or even out of the region of New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York or the northern part of New Jersey, and you want to homeschool your children, let us be a homeschool assistant. We have a bona fide jam up and jelly tight education system here at the Outlaw School System, from kindergarten all the way up through high school, and we do a great job. We produce lawyers, doctors, architects, artists. I mean, God has literally laughed on us as an education institution, and has just given great blessings. Some of the best institutions in America, our students are accepted at. And we recently had one of our students graduate cum laude. That's the first. That is a first, and we need to make note of that. While we have students that have been accepted at Yale, at Juilliard, at New York University, and a number of other very prestigious schools, our first cum laude has happened in our institution, and that's a first that we need to make sure that the education system, the Outlaw School System, acknowledges that. But what I want to say to you, if you're planning on homeschooling your children, register with our online homeschool assistance program. We have an online homeschool assistance program where you can register. You're living in Houston, you're homeschooling your children, but we can come alongside you every day, and we'll assign a special teacher to work with you and your children so that they will not be completely isolated. And you know that even though you're the parent, you're not fully qualified to teach them in every subject matter that they need to be taught in. It will be a wise thing for you to call our ministry at number 877-777-0734. Ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. And go ahead and let us work alongside of you, because you, I mean, as loving as you are as a parent, you just aren't qualified to do all that is necessary. We can be a great assistance to you on your schooling program for your children. Have you ever been for a ride in a Ferrari before? You've probably seen them on television. You've got to at least know what they are. These exclusive Italian toy automobiles that cost $1 gazillion. Anyway, this wide receiver football player for the Arizona Cardinals, some guy by the name of DeAndre Hopkins, was on his way, I guess, to a Cardinals game, and he was zooming past in his Ferrari. The Trump supporters, who were all driving trucks with flags flying off the back of them. So I figured I'd at least let you go for a ride in DeAndre Hopkins' Ferrari, or in a Ferrari just in general, if you've never been on a ride in one of them. Mr. Engineer, roll clip number 2 and watch as DeAndre Hopkins mocks the Trump reporters in their trucks as he cruises along in his Ferrari. That's why you need to boycott football, boycott sports. Boycott sports. Basketball, football, hockey, ping pong. Boycott it. Marbles. Boycott it. Skelly. Boycott golf. The heck with Tiger Woods. Boycott. Watch this. Here's this rolling around in his Ferrari laughing at the Trump supporter. Watch this. Trump.
Ferrari.
You see that? The fact that, hold up a second here, I think we got something else going on here that we need to move. Here is DeAndre Hopkins rolling around in his Ferrari, mocking the Trump supporter, making a gazillion $1 million playing football. And these same Trump supporters are the ones that go to the Super Bowl. These same Trump supporters that watch football every time it comes on television and buys all the advertisements that supports these athletes, these Hamite athletes that make all this money. See how they make fun of you? Listen, LeBron James makes fun of you Trump supporters. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, even Tiger Woods. They all make fun of y'all. They think you're dumb and stupid. And so you got to boycott. You got to bite the bullet, turn off the sports, dry up the cash, dry up the stadium. This guy, you see this? And he posted it on YouTube. That making fun of the Trump supporter while he riding and who's riding in trucks, while he's riding around in a Ferrari that you rednecks down there in redneck MAGA hat wearing land bought it from. You paid for it. Y'all paid for that boy's house. You paid for that $80 million houses that LeBron James owns in Brentwood and in Hollywood or Beverly Hills, California. Y'all MAGA hat wearers paid for LeBron James' house. You paid for DeAndre Hopkins' Ferrari and his house. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Boycott everything that has a ball involved in it and where some sort of Hamite boy or man can put his hands on it. Boycott until they ain't got no more money. We get rid of sports in America. Anyway, all right. I thought I'd say that. All right, now that I've said that, I got something else I want to say. So, I posted up a video the other day about the Mac Daddy down in Miami, right? The Mac Daddy, he down in Miami, and he was, trying to get people riled up to vote for Biden. So, I was just watching him there, and I was trying to figure out what's he up to. He doesn't wear a tie anymore. What's that all about? And then he was telling people to honk if they're all fired up. And so, few people are honking. Anyway, so Mr. Did we get that yet? And do we have the comments as of yet? If not, we can probably go to a break and then try to put it up a little bit later on. But you'll let me know what we have. Do we want to go to that now or what? All right. Do we have, Mr. Engineer? Do we have the comments? All right. Okay. All right. Go ahead and roll that. This is a rewind. You don't mind, right? I'm James David Manning. I'm the Lord's servant. You don't mind a rewind. Go ahead, Mr. Engineer. Talking about Obama, he's in Florida right now. I think it's all over with. I think he was holding a drive-in rally there someplace in Orlando. But he was down in Florida on Saturday, I believe it was. And he was holding a rally, and I noticed when he had in Philadelphia the other day, weren't that many people at the rally. There was a lot of parking space, enough space to park the world champion baseball or whatever it is. But people weren't parking. I didn't see the people out there, just few people. And same thing in Florida. So in Florida the other day when he said, honk if you're fired up, I heard a few horns, but I mean, if the parking lot had been filled with cars, you could have heard them all the way up in New York. So maybe the Mac Daddy is not drawing the kind of crowds that people think he should draw. Maybe people just aren't coming out to hear him anymore. So I'm going to ask the engineer to roll that clip. And you can say, well, Pastor Man, there was a lot of honking. I don't think as much as there could have been honking. No, I didn't say honky. said honking. Where's George Jefferson when we need him? George Jefferson going on up. George Jefferson died some years ago. He went back to El Paso. He and Wheezy. I think George Jefferson sanitized the word hockey. But that ain't what I said. Hey, YouTube. Hey, Facebook. I said honking. Anyway, Mr. Engineer, roll. It was a clip number 2.
If we pour all our efforts into these 10 days, if we vote up and down the ticket like never before, we will elect Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And we will leave no doubt about what this country we love stands for and what we believe in and who we are as a people. So let's get to work, Florida. Let's bring this home. I love you, Miami. Honk if you're fired up.
Here we go. Watch this.
Honk if you're ready to go. Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? Let's make this happen. Thank you, everybody.
I've heard louder honking from Anita Bryant. I was going to behind the I was going to motorcycle raise the question as to whether or not we could get a shot of the Mac Daddy's shoe wear, footwear. Because he doesn't wear a tie anymore. I don't know what's up with that. Every time you see him, everywhere he's at, he don't put on it. Last time I saw him in a necktie was at George Floyd's funeral down in Houston a few months ago. But he doesn't wear a necktie anymore. So I figure, what's up with this guy? So I'm thinking if he doesn't wear, maybe he's wearing Air Jordan, maybe he's wearing sneakers now. Maybe he's trying, maybe he's trying to be trying to be one of the boys, But I think the camera gave us a shot of him. I think it looks like he's got on a pair of black leather shoes. I don't think he's got on Air Jordan, but I wouldn't be surprised. That Camelback ain't Black Harris wears sneakers. You know that? Those high top sneakers, the what do you call the ones, the black top, the original sneakers, right? The All Stars. Camelback ain't Black Harris wears sneakers. What is? Okay, everybody's new. I see, a lot of these television people wear sneakers these days with suits on, right? And so I figured, well, that's the new thing, and everybody's into it. But at any rate, so I get the comments that we would have we don't have those. All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to, as I said last time you and I were together, was that this election is going to be decided on women, because actually both the Hamite woman and the Japheth woman, Japheth being white and Hamite being black, are going to make the decision about who's going to be the next president of the United States of America, unless the matter goes to court and Amy Coney Barrett, whatever her name is, and Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh make the decision. But having said that, I want you to see that all the news networks are pushing their particular candidate. MSNBC, CNN, in particular, and ABC, and NBC, they're all pushing, obviously, Biden and Camelback ain't Black Harris. And Fox is pushing Trump. So I'm going to ask Mr. Engineer, could you bring up clip number 5? This is just a going back and forth, a comparison to let you see how the media is treating it and what their various things they're covering. So in clip number 5, it's going to take a little while just to observe, and I'll come back with some comments once we viewed the entire video. Go ahead, Mr. Engineer.
The murder rate in Democrat-run cities like Chicago, Baltimore, New York, so many others, is higher than in Afghanistan. Yet Biden supports imposing these failed policies nationwide.
When I was vice president, violent crime fell 15% in this country. We did it without chaos and disorder. And yes, We did it with Democratic mayors in most of the major cities in this country.
You will have crime like you've never seen before. You'll have crime like you've never seen.
The murder rate now is up 26% across the nation this year under Donald Trump. Do you really feel safer under Donald Trump?
There's a reason for less crime. That's because we have great law enforcement. I'm very proud of them. There won't be defunding. There won't be dismantling of our police. And there's not going to be any disbanding of our police.
But in cities all across our nation, we've seen our police officers so badly assaulted. We've also launched Operation Legend, surging federal law enforcement to communities plagued by violent crime.
What I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police officers. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding in his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance.
If you don't test, you don't have any cases. If we stop testing right now, we'd have very few cases, if any.
Testing, testing, testing. More testing is not only how you find more cases of coronavirus, Mr. President. It's how you stop the coronavirus cases.
The cure cannot be worse than the problem itself, can it? The cure cannot be worse. But if you don't feel good about it, if you want to stay. Relax, stay. But if you want to get out there, get out. One thing with me, the nice part, I went through it. Now they say I'm immune. I feel so powerful. I'll walk into that audience. I'll walk in there. I'll kiss everyone in that audience. We had 10.4 million people in a 4-month period that we've put back into the workforce. That's a record the likes of which nobody's ever seen before. Before COVID came in, the greatest economy in history, lowest unemployment numbers, everything was good, everything was going. And by the way, there was unity going to happen.
We're still down 720,000 manufacturing jobs. In fact, Donald Trump may be the only president in modern history to leave office with fewer jobs than when he took office. We will never get our economy back on track. We will never get our kids safely back in schools. We'll never have our lives back until we deal with this virus.
She is a woman of unparalleled achievement, towering intellect, sterling credentials, and unyielding loyalty to the Constitution, Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
The justice, and I'm not opposed to the justice, she seems like a very fine person. The president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now.
Why is it in the ballot?
Because
why is it on the ballot? It's not on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the court.
I don't think so.
In the court. Well,
there's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
and
just
you don't know her view on Roe v. Wade.
I don't know her view. A woman does have a right to choose. I would, in fact, if they rule it to be unconstitutional, I will send to the United States Congress, and it will pass, I believe, a bill that legislates Roe v. Wade adjusted by Casey. It's a woman's right to do that, period.
I've spent the last 4 years delivering for the African American community like nobody, with the exception possibly of Abraham Lincoln, has delivered before.
But I also believe injustice is real. It's a product of a history that goes back 400 years, the moment when black men, women, and children first were brought here in chains. I do not believe we have to choose between law and order and racial justice in America. We can't have both.
In the strongest possible terms, the Republican Party condemns the rioting, looting, arson, and violence we have seen in Democrat-run cities.
There's no place for violence, no place for looting or destroying property or burning churches or destroying businesses. We need to distinguish between legitimate peaceful protests and opportunistic violent destruction.
What do you think? Well, since you can't talk to me, I'll talk to you. I can tell you what I think. And I want you to think about it as, and this entire 5 minutes and 3 seconds video was all about Hamite people and the election and their connection to the election. It was not about Wall Street. You didn't hear Wall Street being mentioned Wasn't about tax breaks or taxable income. It was all about the crime bill and about COVID-19. Persons most affected by it, of course, are minorities in the Hamite genre. And back and forth about crime. Trump starts out with, if you like Biden, crime is going to go off the charts. But, that may be true, but, if you follow the news the way I do, you will understand that Biden and what's his name, Clinton, were responsible for the 1994 crime bill, which threw thousands, if not tens of thousands, of black men, Hamite men, into prison for a bag of marijuana. You got 25 years. Biden has since apologized for it. Yet, Tribulation Trump is accusing Biden of being easygoing on crime, that crime is going to flourish. So really, he's trying to have it both ways. And Biden, on the other hand, is trying to escape the fact that he did do draconian legal, constitutional mandates, state mandates, to throw the Hamite man in jail for the rest of his life. So it's all a farce. But this particular video put together focused just on one group of people only, one segment of the voting populace. And stepping back from this, telling you what I think, and you may agree, that it all boils down to, at least in the eyes of these two persons, the Hamite person and their vote are not voting for them. Now, of course, Trump is trying to appeal to the Japheth suburban woman to tell her that the black man, Hamite man, is dangerous for your community, and you want to make sure that Biden doesn't give him the liberty to come out to the suburbs, do whatever he's going to do out there. But it's going to be left to the Hamite, to the suburban woman, who I think that is probably just seen enough of Trump and would rather take her chance with a bunch of rappers or the Bloods and the Crips. Now, this is just my opinion, that Tribulation Trump has turned off white women, Japheth women, to such a degree that they would consider the Bloods and the Crips or the rappers far more detrimental to their well-being than Trump having the levers of the power of America and that bully pulpit. That's what I think. At any rate, what do you think? By the way, let me, I want to go over something I did yesterday regarding Walter Wallace Jr. that was shot 14 times by police officers on the streets of Philadelphia 3 days ago. He was wielding a knife. And in that event, the police actually circled around and backed away from him as much as 30 feet. They backed up. He kept coming. And finally, in a position where they finally decided to take a stand and stop backing up, Walter Wallace took 2 more steps and they dropped him. And one may say that they didn't have to do that. I don't know if they needed to use 14 shots, but I know that police training tells them if he's advancing, stop him. You say, well, they only had a knife, and they had, Glock 5s or 9s or whatever it is that they had. But I want to, in Paris, in France, was it France or just the other day, a madman with a knife killed 3 people and has allegedly beheaded some others. And I want to show you what a man with a knife can do if you don't stop him in time. So, Mr. Engineer, I'm looking for clip number 1, if we have that clip. Because I'd like to be able to demonstrate, even though you may think, well, you got a gun, he's got a knife, you got a gun, the same thing, that you have the advantage because you have a gun. If a person is advancing you with a knife and he gets close enough to you and you haven't fired, he can strike you with that knife and it can be fatal. The time it takes to close in a gap, let's say, of 12 feet is only a matter of a couple of seconds. And you have a split second to decide to shoot. Those police officers, what I saw, were trained to shoot because you only have another second and he's going to be on you with that knife and his wound could be fatal. Anyway, so Mr. Engineer, we don't see police involved in this matter, but we hear how awful it is if someone's got a knife, what they can do in just a matter of a few seconds. Roll clip number 1, Mr. Engineer.
Now to that breaking news overseas, a deadly terror attack in France. Ian Pannell joins us now, has the latest. Good morning, Ian.
Yeah, good morning, Robin. This is a rapidly developing story. What we know so far is that at least 3 people have been killed and a number wounded in a terrorist stabbing attack at a church in the southern French city of Nice. Now, it happened at the Notre Dame Basilica at 9 local time this morning, and a suspect who's reportedly been injured is now in police custody. The authorities appear to have arrived rapidly on the scene, storming the church. As you'd expect, the area is now cordoned off with a heavy police presence there. Armed police are on the scene. President Macron is also going to go down to Nice and to try and assess what's going on. Remember, this comes just under 2 weeks after that terrible beheading incident in Paris, France. But this is another stark reminder of the threats that exist in a city and a country that has a terrible history of this kind of incident. Michael?
All right, thank you. All right, recap. So here's a man inside of a church in Nice, Notre Dame, and kills 3 people with a knife. And the police, by the time the police get there, they shoot him as well, not fatally, to stop the slaughter. They weren't there initially. It is assumed that the church had no real security forces. But let me say this, and let's be clear, especially inside of a church. If someone draws a weapon inside of a church, you don't try to talk them out of it. There is, when a person makes up their mind to pull a knife out, and forget about it if a gun, but when a person makes up their mind to pull a weapon inside of a church or in an institution where innocent people are, in a workplace, you got to kill them. You don't talk to them. You don't negotiate. You don't try to be some hostage takeover guy and so you're talking about of dropping a weapon. You don't do that. You kill him. You kill him. You kill him. And then you ask questions later. And it needs to be understood. The moment you hesitate by trying to talk to them, people are going to die. This is not necessarily from a criminal mindset, and I'm not certainly certain that I have one. But I can tell you, if a man walks into a business with a weapon, kill him. Just kill him. The people on the streets of Philadelphia, this man may have been a psychopath, and that's unfortunate that he may have had, bipolar problem. That's unfortunate, but that's all the more reason why you can't reason with him. Kill him. Kill him, kill him, kill him. Kill him. It's unfortunate that he's bipolar. It's unfortunate he's got mental, but it's better that he dies than innocent people die, like 3 people inside of a church. And if you go to church, if you're in a church, and someone inside pulls a weapon of any sort, kill him. Kill him. Because if you don't, they're not going to be talked out of it. They didn't come in there to have a conversation. They came in there to do bodily harm. People could be left paralyzed for the rest of their life, and many did. They do kill people inside of churches. You do know they do that, right? Kill them! So all the rioting going on in Philadelphia right now is a damn lie. Because Walter Wallace Jr., though he may have been bipolar, and it's unfortunate, and I offer my condolences to his mother and family and everybody else, that he was not mentally balanced. I regret that. However, on the other hand, he shouldn't be allowed to kill anybody. Stop him before he stops someone else. That's just how the world works. This view that you should shoot him in the leg, I don't know where you get that from. Or shoot him in the sneakers. Yeah, you tell him you're going to shoot his sneakers, he got a pair of Jordans. He might actually stops. Whoa. I ain't going to have you shoot my sneakers now. Whoa, wait a minute. I'll drop the knife before I let you shoot my sneakers. I'm being funny. there is a misunderstanding, and it wasn't some stranger that called the police on Walter Wallace Jr. It was those people who felt that he was going to kill them, and they called the police because they need police safety. So you still want to defund the police? Is that you want to defund them? What's going to happen when you need them? At any rate, you've heard what I said. I'll be right back.
The storm is blamed for at least 2 deaths so far. A New Orleans man was killed by a dangling power line, and 1 person died in Mississippi, according to officials. Zeta made landfall in Louisiana on Wednesday. It brought winds that downed trees all over New Orleans. City officials say there were 200 tree emergencies after Zeta blew through. And by this morning, more than 3/4 of the city was in the dark. Zeta's winds brought power outages that stretched across 5 states. As of this morning, there were nearly 2 million people without power. The storm stripped the roof of a nearly 100-year-old building in Mississippi, and flooding left parts of the main Gulf Coast road there underwater on Wednesday. The mayor of Waveland told local media outlets he expects to find extensive damage in his city when it's safe to survey. He thinks this may have been the worst storm the city has seen since Hurricane Katrina.
Yesterday, too many children like John didn't eat. Today, they'll go without food again. Weak little children going hungry every day. John's swollen, painful stomach is empty. He is only 2 years old. His tiny body is severely malnourished. All John wants is for the pain to stop, to feel food in his empty stomach, but there simply isn't any. Today, too many sick and hungry children will go without food. Tomorrow, too many will die from hunger. Save the Children knows what it takes to save their lives. It takes you, us, and just $10 a month. Please do something amazing and call the number on your screen right now, because there are 3 simple ways you can help stop the hunger and save children's lives. You can save lives immediately by giving sick, hungry children the nourishing emergency food their weak bodies are craving. You can help make sure health workers are on hand to give children regular medical checkups before they become sick. And you can help give communities the support they need to grow their own food, clean water, tools, and seeds. Please call the number now, because you won't just be saving lives today, you'll be changing lives tomorrow, and all for just 35 cents a day. Call now and you'll receive this Save the Children tote bag to say thank you and to remind you of the incredible difference you're making today, tomorrow, and long into the future. Don't put this off. Please call Save the Children on the number on your screen and give just $10 a month. Because too many children like John won't eat today. You can make sure they eat tomorrow.
All right, we're 4 days in a wake-up from the November 3rd election, and unless Florida chimes in as a definite winner either for Biden or for Trump, if it chimes in as a winner for Biden, definitely, distinguishedly, then we can pretty much know which way the election is going to ultimately go, even though ballot counting may go on for several days thereafter in North Carolina and in Wisconsin, Michigan, and in Pennsylvania. But I'd like to observe that a number of people are stating that Trump is losing and losing badly, and just by looking at his behavior of what his internal polls are telling him, where he's campaigning, and the fact that there are literally most of the major Republican organizations, those that have the courage to actually make their statements against Trump public, are coming out of the woodwork. There are many who are still hiding. I suspect that there are a lot of people who are saying to the pollsters they're going to vote for Trump, but they're not going to. They don't plan to. They've had enough of him. And this is not a statement against him or for Biden. I'm just doing an observation of some information you might want to use to help get whatever candidate you might think is important to win. But what I want to do is move further now to if Trump does lose, and I'm not sure that he will. I'm not saying that he will. Who knows? I don't know that what will happen. But if he does lose, he's going down and going down hard. He's going down harder than anything we've seen happen in America in a very long time. And he's going to go down fighting, even though he may quietly walk out of the White House on January 20th, 2021. There'll be people who will not quietly accept his walking out. If he loses, he's going down hard. It's going to be a hard reign if he does lose. And if he doesn't lose, it's going to be a hard reign, no matter what, upon America. But if he does lose, and it's highly possible that he will, it's highly possible that Biden will lose. Neither one will benefit me. Let's put it that way. I have no dog in this fight. But I'm concerned about Fox News because Fox News has gone to the nth degree to support Trump. You know, Fox and Friends, that program that comes on early in the morning, and while we're going to put up some of the Fox faces, we don't have to have Fox and Friends up. Go ahead and put those up, Mr. Engineer. The Fox and Friends that comes on in the morning, right? It's an hour, 2 hour, 3 hour program. I don't watch it that often. I'm not sure how long it is. It's two guys and one woman, and on Fox News in the morning. And Trump just gets up in the early morning, and I guess he's in his pajamas, and he calls in to Fox and Friends. And they may have had a program planned for the day where they had some news that they wanted to advance, but when Trump calls in, they got to take the call. Brian Kilmeade is one of them, the host on Fox and Friends. And they got to sit there and listen to Trump ramble on about this and that for an entire hour, making no really policy statements, just, complaining or name calling, and whatever Trump does, and he does it very effectively. And they got to sit there and put up with that for an hour. They can't disengage him. Tell, well, Mr. President, we don't have more time for you. They got to listen to him. He takes the whole hour, which may have quashed whatever might have been what a news program they wanted to permit, because they may have thought there were some items that the public needed to know about. And then you got Sean Hannity, who's going all out with him, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Jeanine Pirro, Maria Bartiromo. They've gone all out with Trump. What's going to happen if he loses? Because if he loses, he's going down hard. The courts are coming after him. If Trump loses, America will no longer be afraid to speak out against him. People who you would not think that are against Trump, but they can't speak out. They're in public life. They're judges, or they're in municipal work, or they're in professional work, and they're just afraid to speak out because he has a mad Twitter account with 75 million followers. And he's the president. He's got power, and he can be very vindictive. But if he loses, that power's taken away from him, you gonna see rats and roaches crawling out of holes you ain't never seen before. And he's gonna go down hard. It's gonna be, it's gonna be Ben time. With all them rats in Michael Jackson's movie Ben. It's going to be Ben time in America if Trump goes down. If it stays, then that's another story. But what's going to happen to Fox News as it goes down? Fox News has lost its credibility as a journalistic institution. Their commentary in the evenings has melted down to becoming Trump TV, pro-Trump, and also supporters of conspiracy, supporters of Trump TV has become supporters of, and while a lot of people would disagree with this, depending on what your explanation of racism is, and I'll give you that, but also give to me the opportunity to at least express that Trump TV has become a promoter of racism, a national news institution that actually supports racism. Now, you don't have to agree with that. Now, you understand, you don't have to agree with you. You can find reasons to say it's not racist, and I can deal with that, and you and I, we can still talk. I hope you understand me. But what's going to happen to Fox News? Fox News will literally go out of business. It will not be credible. There'll be a few people watching, and there are a lot of people right now that are watching, but the credibility. Of course, CNN will lose its credibility if Trump wins. If Trump wins, Trump's going to roll over CNN and MSNBC like a Mack truck rolling over a skateboard if he wins. I don't know if you have the imagination that can take you into the recesses of what America will look like if Trump gets another 4 years unrestricted to do whatever the hell he wants to do. Right now, he's been doing it, and there's been nobody to stop him. Imagine not having the penalty of a second election looming over your head, and you can just do whatever you feel like doing. If it feels good, Trump can do it. Who's going to stop him? Who's going to stop him? He can call for an investigation of Joe Biden and actually have Joe Biden arrested. He's trying to get Hunter Biden arrested. I mean, you understand? But if he goes down, he's going to go down hard. If he doesn't go down, America's going down hard. There's no winning here. There really, really isn't. And so we're 4 days on a wake up, and it's on. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.
Billion people lack access to safe surgery. Children are suffering from treatable causes, living with conditions many have never seen. For more than 40 years, Mercy Ships has deployed floating hospitals with volunteer doctors who give their time to provide the free surgeries these children desperately need.
I feel like my reason for being here is driven by love. I think it is the love that changes the patients first.
Join us by calling or going to mercyships.org now. $19 a month will give children and families the hope and healing they never thought possible and turn lives of pain into futures full of potential. It's a mission powered by love, made possible by you. Call 888-425-6440 or donate now at mercyships.org.
Now that the coronavirus, a lot of people are afraid to send their children to schools, especially the public school system, and I tell you, I don't blame you. It is very risky in the public school system, and so a number of parents have taken to homeschooling. And if you're out of state or even out of the region of New York City, the 5 boroughs of New York or the northern part of New Jersey, and you want to homeschool your children, let us be a homeschool assistant. We have a bona fide jam up and jelly tight education system here at the Outlaw School System, from kindergarten all the way up through high school, and we do a great job. We produce lawyers, doctors, architects, artists. I mean, God has literally laughed on us as an education institution, and it's just given great blessings. Some of the best institutions in America, our students are accepted at. And we recently had one of our students graduate cum laude. That's the first. That is a first, and we need to make note of that. While we have students that have been accepted at Yale, at Juilliard, at New York University, and a number of other very prestigious schools, our first cum laude has happened in our institution, and that's a first that we need to make sure that the education system, the Outlaw School System, acknowledges that. But what I want to say to you, if you're planning on homeschooling your children, register with our online homeschool assistance program. We have an online homeschool assistance program where you can register. You're living in Houston, you're homeschooling your children, but we can come alongside you every day, and we'll assign a special teacher to work with you and your children so that they will not be completely isolated. And you know that even though you're the parent, you're not fully qualified to teach them in every subject matter that they need to be taught in. It would be a wise thing for you to call our ministry at number 877-777-0734. Ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. The number is 877-777-0734, and ask to speak to Elizabeth Manning. And go ahead and let us work alongside of you, because you, I mean, as loving as you are as a parent, you just aren't qualified to do all that is necessary. We can be of great assistance to you on your schooling program for your children.
The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delighteth in his way. Though he fall, he shall not be cast down, for the Lord upholds him with his hand. I shall never beg bread, I shall never be defeated, for the Lord is my refuge and my strength. I shall never beg bread, I shall never be defeated, for the Lord is my shelter